Deep longing of the human heart. There are moments in life when everything around us seems to be moving normally, yet something within us feels unsettled. It is a quiet kind of emptiness, not loud enough for others to notice, but strong enough that we cannot ignore it. We wake up, go through our daily routines, speak with people, smile, and carry on as expected, but deep inside, there is a question that never fully goes away. It is not always clear what that question is. Sometimes it feels like a search for meaning. Sometimes it feels like a desire for peace. And sometimes it is simply the feeling that something is missing, even when life appears complete on the outside. This inner longing is something every human being experiences at some point, regardless of age, background, or success. People often try to fill this emptiness with things they believe will satisfy them. Some chase achievements, thinking that success will finally bring fulfillment. Others look for comfort in relationships, hoping that another person will complete what they feel is lacking. Some turn to distractions, filling every moment with noise so they do not have to face the silence within. And while these things may bring temporary happiness, they do not fully satisfy the deeper need of the human soul. After the excitement fades, after the noise quiets down, that same feeling gently returns, reminding us that what we are searching for cannot be found in temporary things. This longing is not a flaw in human nature. It is not something to be ignored or suppressed. In fact, it is something deeply meaningful. It points to the truth that we were created for something more than just existing day by day. It suggests that there is a deeper purpose to life, something beyond what we can see or touch. It is as if the heart is constantly reaching out for something eternal, something unchanging, something that brings lasting peace. And yet, many people go through life without fully understanding this longing, mistaking it for dissatisfaction with circumstances rather than recognizing it as a spiritual hunger. In the midst of this search, there comes a moment when a person begins to look beyond the visible world. They begin to ask questions that go deeper than daily concerns. Questions like, why am I here? What is my purpose? Is there someone who truly understands me? These questions are not signs of weakness. They are signs of awareness. They show that a person is beginning to recognize that life is not just about surviving or achieving, but about understanding something greater. It is in these moments of questioning that many people begin to discover Jesus. Not as an idea, not as a distant figure from history, but as someone who speaks directly to the deepest parts of the human heart. What makes Jesus different from anything else people turn to is the way he connects with this inner longing. He does not offer temporary solutions or surface-level comfort. Instead, he addresses the root of the emptiness, offering something that the world cannot provide: a sense of peace that is not dependent on circumstances, a sense of love that does not fade, and a sense of purpose that gives meaning to every part of life. When people begin to understand who Jesus is, they often realize that he is not distant or unreachable. He is not someone who demands perfection before allowing connection. Instead, he invites people as they are, with all their doubts, fears, and imperfections. This is what makes his presence so powerful. He does not wait for people to fix themselves before coming to him. He meets them exactly where they are, in the middle of their confusion, their struggles, and their searching. This is where prayer begins to take on a new meaning. It is no longer seen as a ritual or an obligation, but as a response to that inner longing. Prayer becomes the way a person reaches out, not because they have all the answers, but because they are searching for them. It becomes a moment of honesty, where there is no need to pretend or hide. In prayer, a person can express everything they feel, even the things they cannot say to anyone else. They can bring their questions, their fears, their hopes, and even their silence. What makes prayer so powerful is not the words themselves, but the connection it creates. When a person prays to Jesus, they are not speaking into emptiness. They are connecting with someone who understands them completely. This understanding goes beyond what any human relationship can offer. While people may try to support and care for one another, there are limits to human understanding. There are thoughts and feelings that are too deep or too complex to fully share with others. But with Jesus, there is no such limitation. He knows every thought, every emotion, every struggle, even before it is spoken. As this connection begins to grow, something starts to change within the person. It is not always a dramatic or immediate transformation. Often, it is subtle and gradual. The restlessness begins to ease. The constant searching begins to settle. There is a growing sense of peace, not because all problems have disappeared, but because there is now a sense of not facing them alone. This is one of the most important aspects of prayer. It does not remove all difficulties, but it changes how a person experiences them. Over time, prayer becomes more than just a response to need. It becomes a source of strength. It becomes a place where a person can return again and again, not just in moments of struggle, but in everyday life. It becomes a habit of connection, a way of staying grounded in something greater than the ever-changing circumstances of life. And as this habit develops, the sense of emptiness that once felt overwhelming begins to fade, replaced by a deeper sense of purpose and peace. The journey of understanding this connection is not always simple. There may be doubts along the way. There may be moments when prayer feels difficult or when answers do not seem clear. But even in those moments, the act of reaching out still holds meaning. Because prayer is not about perfection or certainty. It is about relationship. It is about the willingness to seek, to trust, and to remain open to something greater. In the end, the longing that people feel is not something that needs to be feared or avoided. It is something that can lead them to a deeper understanding of life, of themselves, and of Jesus. It is an invitation, not to chase after temporary solutions, but to discover something lasting. And through prayer, that discovery becomes personal. It becomes real. It becomes a part of everyday life. Jesus really is, beyond religion, extended. When people hear the name Jesus, many different thoughts come to mind. For some, he is simply a figure from history, someone who lived long ago and whose story has been passed down through generations. For others, he is associated with religion, traditions, and rituals that they may or may not fully understand. And for some, he feels distant, almost unreachable, as if he belongs to another time and place, disconnected from the realities of modern life. But the truth about Jesus goes far deeper than any label, tradition, or surface-level understanding. To truly know who Jesus is, one must move beyond the idea of religion and begin to see him as a living presence who continues to touch lives in deeply personal ways. Jesus did not come into the world to establish a system of rules or to create a complicated path that only a few could follow. He came with something far simpler, yet far more powerful, a message of love, connection, and restoration. During his time on earth, he did not surround himself with the most powerful or the most respected people in society. Instead, he walked among ordinary individuals, those who were often overlooked, rejected, or struggling in silence. He spoke to them, listened to them, and understood them in a way that made them feel seen and valued. This alone reveals something important about his nature. He was not distant or selective, he was present and accessible. What made Jesus truly different was not just the miracles he performed or the words he spoke, but the way he connected with people on a deeper level. He did not simply address their outward situations, he reached into their hearts. He saw beyond appearances, beyond mistakes, beyond past failures, and recognized the true worth of every individual. In a world where people are often judged by their actions, their status, or their past, Jesus offered something completely different: acceptance without condition. This kind of love is difficult to fully understand because it goes against the way people naturally think. It is not based on performance or perfection, it is given freely. Many people struggle with the idea of being accepted as they are. They feel the need to prove themselves, to meet certain expectations, or to hide parts of who they are out of fear of rejection. This is where understanding Jesus becomes deeply personal. He does not ask people to come to him after they have fixed everything in their lives. He invites them to come as they are, with all their imperfections, doubts, and struggles. This invitation is not limited to a specific group of people. It is open to everyone, regardless of their background or past. And this is what makes his message so powerful and so different from anything else. Another important aspect of who Jesus is lies in his ability to understand human pain. He is not someone who observes suffering from a distance. He experienced it. He faced rejection, betrayal, and deep emotional pain. Because of this, when people turn to him in their own struggles, they are not speaking to someone who cannot relate. They are connecting with someone who truly understands what it means to feel hurt, alone, or overwhelmed. This understanding creates a sense of comfort that is difficult to find elsewhere. It reassures people that their pain is not ignored and that their struggles are not meaningless. As people begin to see Jesus beyond the framework of religion, they start to realize that he is not confined to specific places or rituals. He is not limited to certain times or occasions. His presence is not something that can be controlled or restricted. Instead, it is something that can be experienced anywhere, at any moment. This realization changes the way people approach him. Instead of feeling the need to follow a strict process, they begin to approach him with honesty and openness. They begin to see him not as a distant authority, but as someone who is close, someone who listens, and someone who cares deeply. This understanding naturally leads to the desire to communicate with him, and this is where prayer becomes meaningful. When people truly understand who Jesus is, prayer no longer feels like an obligation. It becomes a natural response. It becomes a way of connecting with someone who is already present. Instead of feeling like they are speaking into silence, people begin to feel that they are being heard. This shift changes everything. It transforms prayer from a routine into a relationship. In this relationship, there is no need for formal language or perfect expressions. What matters is sincerity. Jesus is not concerned with how well a person speaks or whether they use the right words. What matters is the heart behind those words. This makes prayer accessible to everyone, regardless of their knowledge or experience. It removes the fear of doing something wrong and replaces it with the freedom to simply be real. As this connection grows, people often begin to notice subtle changes within themselves. They may find that they are more patient, more understanding, and more at peace. These changes do not come from external pressure or effort alone. They come from the influence of a relationship that is gradually shaping their thoughts and emotions. Jesus works in ways that are not always visible, but they are deeply effective. He transforms from within, changing not just actions, but the intentions and attitudes behind those actions. There is also a sense of guidance that begins to develop. Life is full of decisions, some small and some life-changing. It is not always clear which path to take or what choice will lead to the best outcome. When people build a connection with Jesus, they often find that they are not navigating these decisions alone. There is a growing sense of clarity, a quiet direction that helps them move forward with confidence. This guidance does not always come in obvious ways, but it is present, helping them make choices that align with a deeper sense of purpose. Understanding Jesus beyond religion also means recognizing that he is not distant during difficult times. In fact, it is often during these times that his presence becomes most noticeable. When everything feels uncertain, when plans fall apart, or when life becomes overwhelming, the connection with him provides stability. It offers a sense of peace that does not depend on circumstances. This does not mean that problems disappear, but it means that people are no longer facing them alone. There is strength available to them, a strength that goes beyond their own abilities. It is important to understand that this relationship is not built in a single moment. It develops over time. It grows through consistent connection, through honest prayer, and through a willingness to trust even when things are not fully understood. There may be moments of doubt, moments of questioning, and moments of struggle. But these moments do not weaken the relationship, they are part of it. They provide opportunities for deeper understanding and stronger trust. As people continue on this journey, they often realize that knowing Jesus is not about reaching a final destination. It is about an ongoing experience. It is about continually discovering new depths of his love, his understanding, and his presence. Each day brings new opportunities to connect, to grow, and to experience something more. This makes the relationship dynamic and alive, rather than static or routine. In the end, understanding who Jesus really is changes everything. It shifts the focus from external practices to internal transformation. It moves from obligation to desire, from distance to closeness, and from uncertainty to peace. It reveals that he is not just a part of life, but a source of life itself. And as this understanding deepens, the need for prayer becomes clear, not as something that must be done, but as something that is deeply desired. Because when a person truly knows who Jesus is, they do not pray because they have to. They pray because they want to. They pray because they have found someone who listens, someone who understands, and someone who remains constant in a world that is always changing. Why we truly need to pray. There are many things in life that people learn to live without, but there are also things that the human heart cannot function properly without, even if it tries to ignore them. Just as the body needs air to breathe and water to survive, the inner life of a person needs something deeper, something unseen, something that gives it strength and stability. This is where prayer becomes essential, not as a religious practice or a routine obligation, but as a vital connection that keeps the heart grounded and alive. Without this connection, people may continue to function outwardly, but inwardly they often feel restless, overwhelmed, or disconnected from themselves. In a world that constantly demands attention, people are surrounded by noise. There are endless distractions, responsibilities, and expectations that fill every moment of the day. From the time they wake up to the moment they go to sleep, their minds are occupied with tasks, decisions, and concerns. In the middle of all this, it becomes easy to lose touch with what is happening inside. Thoughts are pushed aside, emotions are ignored, and the deeper questions of life are postponed. Over time, this creates a sense of imbalance. Even if everything appears to be in place externally, something internally feels unsettled. Prayer creates a space where that noise is quieted, where a person can pause and reconnect with something deeper. One of the main reasons people need to pray is because they were never meant to carry everything on their own. Life brings challenges that go beyond human strength. There are burdens that cannot be solved by logic alone, pain that cannot be explained with words, and situations that cannot be controlled no matter how hard a person tries. When people attempt to handle everything by themselves, they often feel exhausted, both mentally and emotionally. Prayer becomes the place where those burdens can be released. It is not about escaping responsibility, but about acknowledging that there is a limit to what one person can carry. When someone turns to Jesus in prayer, they are not simply speaking, they are transferring weight. They are taking what feels heavy and placing it into hands that are able to hold it. This act alone brings a sense of relief. Even if the situation does not change immediately, the feeling of being overwhelmed begins to lessen. This is because prayer shifts the focus from control to trust. Instead of trying to manage every detail, a person begins to accept that they are not alone in facing their struggles. Another reason prayer is needed is because of the way it brings clarity. The human mind is often filled with confusion. There are moments when decisions feel impossible, when thoughts become tangled, and when it is difficult to see a clear path forward. In these moments, people may overthink, worry, or feel stuck. Prayer creates a space where those thoughts can settle. It allows a person to step back from the noise and gain a different perspective. This clarity does not always come in the form of a direct answer, but it comes as a sense of direction, a quiet understanding of what needs to be done next. Prayer also plays a powerful role in emotional healing. Every person carries experiences that have left an impact, whether they realize it or not. There are memories that bring pain, words that have caused hurt, and moments that have shaped the way a person sees themselves in the world. These experiences do not simply disappear with time. If they are not addressed, they remain beneath the surface, influencing thoughts and emotions in ways that may not be obvious. Prayer provides a safe space to bring these things into the open. It allows a person to express feelings honestly, without fear of judgment or misunderstanding. Prayer also changes the way people respond to situations. Without it, reactions are often driven by emotion, anger, fear, frustration, or impatience. But as prayer becomes a regular part of life, there is a noticeable shift. People begin to pause before reacting. They become more thoughtful, more patient, and more understanding. This is not because their circumstances have become easier, but because their perspective has changed. They are no longer reacting purely from emotion, but from a place of inner stability. There is also a sense of companionship that comes through prayer. One of the most difficult feelings a person can experience is loneliness, not just physical loneliness, but emotional and spiritual isolation. It is the feeling of being misunderstood or unseen, even when surrounded by others. Prayer addresses this in a powerful way. It reminds a person that they are not alone, that there is someone who is always present, always listening, and always aware of what they are going through. This presence brings comfort, especially in moments when human support feels limited or unavailable. As prayer becomes more consistent, it begins to shape the way a person sees life. Gratitude becomes more natural. Instead of focusing only on what is missing or what is wrong, people begin to notice what is present and what is good. This shift in perspective has a powerful impact on overall well-being. It creates a sense of balance, allowing people to navigate both positive and negative experiences with greater stability. In the end, the need for prayer is not about fulfilling a requirement. It is about recognizing a need that already exists within every human heart. It is about understanding that life is not meant to be lived in isolation, carrying every burden alone. Prayer offers a way to connect, to release, to heal, and to grow. It provides strength in weakness, clarity in confusion, and peace in uncertainty.